Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
Hey guys, welcome to another Note to File live. I didn't mess it up today. How's it going, Denali?
It's going good. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of you.
Hey, there's still plenty of time.
And I'm not muted, so
still plenty of time to mess things up.
Got a good hour.
It's early. Dr. Fox, glad to have you back.
Brad?
How's it going, man?
Hey, Denali, how's it going?
Good. Nice to have you on.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Today is August 28th. Today is National Power Rangers Day. Which
is that still a thing? Is that still around?
I don't know. Did you have a favorite Power Ranger?
Okay, so I did. We always played at recess, and I always wanted to be the Pink Ranger, but I was never able to be the Pink Ranger because I didn't have blonde hair, so I was always the Yellow Ranger because I was the most Asian one in the group, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you're the closest. Okay.
The closest, yeah, I guess. What about you? Fox, did you have one? You have a
favorite
Ranger?
Yeah, Green Ranger, not white.
That was such a fast answer. I think I need more details. Why?
Green Ranger, not white. So love the Green Ranger.
Okay.
Same as the White Ranger, but he was the Green Ranger. So
okay.
He had a cooler Megazord thing. So
that's a term I have not heard in decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never actually really got into the Power Rangers, honestly. So I brought this up, and I have literally nothing to contribute to it in any way, unfortunately.
I like Angel's response too. That was a good one.
Black Ranger, nice.
Yeah, he had some attitude. Now, before or after the strike? Anyway, so there's the whole story. We could go an hour on Power.
I feel like you know so much about this, and I'm.
Yeah, well, this is now a Power Rangers podcast, and episode 1 of.
So the one thing I will say is it's one of those things that's not aged particularly well from like a production quality. Like I feel like you watch some of these.
It wasn't good then.
Right, when you're like 6, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, but I there's been seen like clips of recently now.
Considerably older, so when you were 6, I was older than that. So maybe I don't know. I missed the boat on Power Rangers, but I'm glad to see Angel winning. Smart. I like the way you think, Angel.
Nice.
Shout out to Angel. Cool, man. Let's jump right down. You were posting earlier. It's been 2 years or so since we did a dedicated, sort of Dr. Fox CRPN type podcast. So fill in the gap for us, man.
This is weird.
Yeah.
I talk a lot, but I have a really hard time talking about me or what I do. I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
Fair. It's okay.
2 years ago, so I did a little reminisce. I took the hour, listened to our interview last time. I don't want to repeat too much. CRPN has come a long way. I remember in the past, I said that my vision was to create a network of sites. This is before the site network fad that came together to help each other so we could make sure that everyone had what they needed in their communities to do research properly. Because we found this huge gap in a site's ability to do finance at their site. Most of the time, a site starts out with a really eager doctor and an operations manager nurse who come together and say, we're just going to form a site. Boom. So then they work with patients. They get a ton of contracts because their site is doing well, and they have no idea how to manage it. So a couple of years later, what's going to happen is they have probably more money on the table than they realize. They know that they're hemorrhaging money. They don't know how to fix it. And then they give me a call. So that's kind of where CRPN is going. It is over 150 sites strong. We are global. We've got sites everywhere. We've got everyone coming in, talking to each other. We get some of the best practices. I think I process, 20, 30 negotiations a week in CRPN.
That sounds
across the industry.
That sounds stressful.
Yeah. So, but the cool thing is it does turn into, I have my eyes on a lot. And as a result, I can help sites develop best practices. I get to see maybe some of the things they're missing. Every site is going to be missing something different. So normally we come in with a gap analysis just to understand what they are missing and what they're doing.
Yeah. And we talked about this before. I think you made a little bit of a recent interview that you had dropped when you came out here to visit us, because we've contracted the help of Dr. Fox and CRPN. I mean, my story is not dissimilar. Like, I was just a dude in research, and I thought, like, hey, I can do this. Went out and started, working with physicians in the community. Very slow start by myself. Cool. You can kind of keep up with what's going on. And then, you find with a little bit of success that it does really, especially at the site level, things tend to like snowball in a good way. So pretty soon you've got we have 25 studies and some of them are blowing up, and now there's no one's been keeping up with this stuff. You're playing from behind. It's hard to do anyway, even if you are staying on top of it. So one of the first things that you were able to come in and help us do is just do an audit of where are gaps, what are we missing, how much money is on the table. I will tell you, I mean, even as a small site, it's pretty crazy how quickly those things can add up. So that's something you do sort of across the board. Yeah. Like, is that generally how you like to sort of start your? That's
generally how it starts. It's really
sites.
Yeah, it's hard to help sites if you don't have a grasp of the past.
Right.
If you have to go chase money, or if you have to send invoices or something like that, and you don't have a good foundation, nope, you've got to start from scratch somehow. And you can either, most of the time with sites, if you don't request money within 2 years of something, you either enter the use it or lose it mode, or the trial has closed out and you don't get the money. Because after a trial closes out, you only have like 30 to 60 days, and then you forfeit it. So use it or lose it. So generally, we try to reverse engineer at least 2 years worth of financial records, contracts, invoices, payments, everything. Go back 2 years, understand the site's history if possible, and then create the systems going forward so that we can prevent any problems from happening again.
Yeah. And that's I mean, look, we've seen, SCRS has done a lot of good work in like researching site financial health. I mean, we know sites, and you probably know the statistics better than I do. Like, it's a huge number of sites who don't even have, 3 months of operating capital. I mean, I think sites are all sort of feel squeezed, like, in different ways, but financially especially. So, like, if we want to create like a healthy ecosystem, sites need to be healthy, like from a business perspective, right? So I mean, again, I think this is like such a underrated thing, and I think, again, if you're especially someone like me, your operation is just running. You're not always going back to check this stuff out. And I don't know, do they make it intentionally difficult to get money, or are sites just particularly ill prepared in some ways, like small, especially community sites? Are they just specifically unprepared to like capture that money? It feels like somewhere in between, probably
in between. A lot of the people that I've worked with, they try to take it under their belt. They don't want to pay someone else to do it. And then they find that they don't have time to do it the right way. It is literally a full-time job, the entire cycle. I'm sure you've kind of seen it, Brad, that you're literally always doing something in finance. It's not just send an invoice and wait for the next month. There's always something going on, or you have to chase money, or all of this. And I don't think that local sites have that kind of expertise or bandwidth. They want to bring the patients in. They want to see the patients. They may have like a office business manager, director person to do that. But most of the time, they're all procurements and contracts and things like that. They're not doing the daily. And I think that's kind of where things go wrong.
So as far as the groups you're working with, are you guys primarily more like smaller community sites? Are you working with any sort of larger? Because I mean, I will say, like, talk to sites of all types, and all of them I've had, potentially privately admit that they have money on the table to the tune of hundreds of thousands of millions, whether they be large AMCs or health systems or even small sites. Are you working with all of those, or do you have more of a niche in more the community space?
Yes.
Okay.
The range of sites in the network itself, and again, the network is you can join for free, you get free opportunities, you get free community advice, all of this. You don't need the services themselves.
Okay.
That ranges from that mom and pop just started a site last week, all the way to the highly defined site networks, sometimes even PE backed. So we have the big long range there. Between the people that do the services, most of the time it's going to be that smaller, maybe 5 to 30 site kind of a range. Right. Sometimes we'll get as high as 5 to 30 trial site. And sometimes we'll get into like the 50 to 100 site level if we get into the site networks.
Well, and that tracks, right? Because the larger ones are going to probably have embedded, specialized groups that are kind of doing, maybe they're not doing it well, but they have a function that's doing it.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to look at some of those books, and they're not as specialized as they think.
Yeah.
For someone who really values money, they're not doing a good job.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of gets,
I imagine it's a difficult combination of skills to have, right? Because if you were to bring in just like an accountant or something, great, but like they're not going to understand some of the nuance of like the clinical trial space that only someone who's had maybe their fingers in operations or something more broadly will like truly understand like what you can bill for in the first place, and then all the things that follow, like how that's triggered, how to track that, how to invoice that appropriately. So it seems like a somewhat unique combination of skills to be able to do that like at a highly effective rate.
And honestly, and that's kind of where the shirt comes from, the finance is everyone's job. The bigger the organization gets, the less efficient it is with its finances. What we're finding is if you're seeing more trials, more patients, all of this stuff, those coordinators are going to be so strapped that they're not going to talk to the finance team, or they have these crazy executive provisions in place where they're not allowed to. So now you're just hemorrhaging money because of process.
Do you see a variation in like skill set or gaps in like the post-award and pre-award financial space? So the folks who are doing the budgeting and contracting and then like the invoice and rev rec.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you kind of see the variation in those across gaps?
Complete CRO. It's in your CRO level. So most of the time at the sites, the people who are in the pre-award stage, you're going to have the coordinators and they're going to be filing IRB and they're all talking together. But when you go to CRO world, you've got contract negotiator, they're done, they ship it off to ops and they never see it again. So things that you talk to the negotiator about never make it to the communication plan when you actually execute the trial.
Cool. Seems good.
And Lee, shout out Lee, who was out here a couple of weeks ago. But giving you a little props there. Site would be broke without CRPN. Turned everything around for us years ago. And look, I mean, I'll say the same. I mean, we recovered in the high six figures money that was left on the table, over the last just 2 years. And again, we're not necessarily what I would consider a big site by most measures.
Yeah. Who's got the emergency?
That's me. I'm beside the hospital here in my office. So you just have to deal with the ambulance until
whenever you see that on the streets, you just think to yourself, someone's having a worse day than I am, and I hope they're okay. So
that's true.
That's okay. But the cool thing is, we can recover that over the 2 years, but then every month you should be seeing more and more money on an average, normalized to a higher rate. So now I call it your AR battery. Your AR battery is not just like everything you send this month, you're going to get paid next month, because that never happens. But you just continuously send so much money and you fill that AR battery that you have a constant flow of revenue that takes care of you.
So thinking about like that sort of last part. So you do the gap audit, you do the, backwards recoup. When you're looking forward, what kind of things are you doing for the folks who you're working with for your work?
So you have to customize it for every single site.
Yeah.
And if it's okay, Brad, I'll put a couple examples out of what we did with your site.
Sure. Absolutely.
I have to say, of all of the sites that we work with, Brad's is one of the best to have a strong communication plan. And by strong communication plan, I mean, a lot of his team members are actively volunteering information to me. Hey, do you need this? Do you need that? Do they pay for monitoring visits? I had one come in and say, hey, they're asking us to do these weekly calls. Are we getting paid for it? So when we went through the whole process and did the finances, everyone's job, I think Brad's team literally, they took it very, very literally because we had to establish customized communication pathways with each of his pillars. And the pillars, we'll talk about pillars later, but that's kind of that's how I classify a site into the 3 strong pillars. So I have direct communications and contact information for all of the pillar representatives at Brad's site. If there's something that happens on the regulatory team, boom, I know exactly who to talk to. Ops, admin, everything. It's good. So that's what we did for him. We did a communication plan. Okay. Sometimes other sites, you need more process and process flow. Sometimes sites, they've been living off of the Excel spreadsheets. And we say, hey, let's get you into a CTMS. Let's do this properly. Sometimes it's, hey, you're not using the right tech for accounting. Are you going to use QuickBooks? I don't want to make anyone mad, but I'm not a big fan of CTMS integrated finance.
I was going to ask about that at some point. But...
I'm curious about this. I want to hear more.
From what I've seen, CTMS is managed by ops people. It's programmed by ops people. It's all about the source. Finance is a second thought, and that's okay. CTMS is a clinical trial management software. It's not a site management software. It's not meant for the admins. So I prefer to just take what's good out of a CTMS, the ops. Angel, I'm sorry, we'll talk later. I love taking the ops and the reg out, and I love carving out the finance section. It's okay to communicate what has happened in CTMS for finances, but I have not seen success utilizing CTMS as a financial platform. By financial platform, I mean making it your source of truth for invoices. Nah, it's not an accounting software. AR, okay, but if a coordinator accidentally hits something as an unscheduled visit just to cram it in when they don't get paid for it, you've just overstated your AR. You're not going to get paid for that. It's pretend money. It's false money. And now you have a false sense of report.
Got it. Oh,
so fair. Just not my favorite.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, I think it's interesting because probably a lot of sites do rely on CTMS, though.
They do.
When I would argue, I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. I've been talking to a couple of folks about this, but just like there seems to be just a general lack of accounting in clinical trials, period. Where it's like, yes, we have the finance portion of clinical trials, but no one's doing proper accounting in clinical trials.
Yep.
Like across the board.
Yep. And there's accounting and there's forecasting. And are you going to do the accounting bookkeeping, or are you going to do all of your expenses, do QuickBooks? That's you're going to do accounting for your organization,
right?
Or are we going into like proper business analytics?
Right. What I think is fascinating. Yeah. I think there's room there for sure.
Yeah. And I do want to shout out to Clinically. I know that they're probably one of my favorites. I'm biased on that one, but Angels, he's saying that they're working on it. We're working on it, guys. We want to make sure that nobody says that about our product. So,
yeah, we'll, all right, Angel, get back to us. We'll get you on the show to talk about it.
But
I love that. Yeah. What do you think, like, what are the most common issues like you see sites deal with in terms of finance? I mean, I have my suspicions, but like, what do you see most commonly? What's still sort of the big...
Did you know that in academia, the standard is to have the coordinator, the CRC, negotiate the budget?
I did as a coordinator. I had no idea what I was doing. Someone told me, I remember being trained by another coordinator and it said, just add like 20%, kind of squish it around in there, add some money to this, that, or the other. Yeah. And
it's actually the standard accounting principle, just the squish it around method.
Yep, squish it around.
Just mix it up in there, distribute.
I'll grab my tea leaves and just...
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, yeah, I had no concept.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the first problems that I run into with a lot of the sites, those mom and pops who just, they're more concerned about their patient than their finances. And so they just take whatever contracts they want without negotiating it at all, because they just want the trial. They want to get the patients on, and they're not being financially responsible in the assessment. When and we have had that situation where they just, okay, we got the contract, sign it. They don't negotiate. And so when that happens, and everyone knows, if you've been doing this for a long time, that the contract that you receive will be maybe half of what you need to do the trial. depending on its length or anything like that. When coordinators just accept that, what the hell, we need the patients on there. They have just agreed to sign their own grave, dig their own grave, because now they're going to be upside down on their trial. But that information just fed the contract graveyards as well. And now everyone's fair market value plummets to a point where it's not responsible.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. And I guess, do you have a concept, like how many sites truly just don't negotiate? Because to your point, like that affects all of us, because that is setting the bar of what fair market value. Somebody accepted it, now kind of goes into the metrics, I guess, as far as, whoever's tracking these secretly in the background that we don't get to see. Yeah, I mean, is there a significant amount who aren't negotiating?
So I would put it into 4 different bins. I'll call it 4. The first bin would be the PI who wants to own everything. I do the contract, I do negotiation, I do everything. And the PI's ego gets in their way. They think they know what the hell. They think they know what they're doing, and they don't. But then sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and then you get yourself in trouble. Then you've got the patient loving coordinator. Oh, money will come, but we just got to help the patients, and we got to do. So then they're the ones that just kind of take it. Then you've got that office manager who thinks they know what they're doing, but again, kind of like the PI, they don't know what they don't know. And then you've got the pro, the one that actually knows what they're doing. If you put it into those 4 bins, I would say there are very, very few negotiators out there who I could say they know what they're doing.
Fair.
There's a lot of PIs with big egos, though.
No, I've never experienced that. It's news to me. So, I mean, do you think then, like over time, as sites continue, word gets out, more negotiation? I mean, do we get into a sort of rising tide lifts all boats situation? Like, is there a?
I hope that was so. I can tell you that we've got a lot of very curious sites out there. For a while, I was getting 10, 15, 50 pings a week asking me things. Hey, what do I do here? What do I do there? It even got down to the contract. Here's what the contract says. What should I do? And after you get enough of those, you realize every site is asking the same exact thing, but they're not talking to each other yet. That's kind of where I did the community mission. I have the YouTube channel out there. There's over 500 videos talking about the snippets. I mean, if you've followed me on LinkedIn for just a little while, you can see I've been pretty vocal on LinkedIn about a lot of these things that we're seeing at the sites. And then there's my latest project. So I did just complete, after a year, a textbook, university level textbook. It's designed to be a textbook for like a course. And it is meant to be like the Bible of a clinical site administrator.
So is it all administration? Is it finance? What's in it?
So I didn't have it. This is actually, here's the original. Here's my little binder.
Sweet.
The published one is on Amazon, but it starts from the beginning, pre-study. Okay. And it talks about, it goes even before that. It talks about the industry infrastructure, how sponsors and sites and CROs talk. Understanding, here's your baseline. This is how the industry works. All of those unspoken little rules that nobody talks about, you learn later, it's in there. And then once I have the foundation, then I just go from chronology, pre-study, study, and then even long-term follow-up, document storage, everything. Pre-study, what do you look at for a CDA? How do you work with your legal team? All the way to feasibility, how do you fill it out? What happens when you get the award? Do you have to have a communication plan with your reg team? Because you're not going to get the contract. Your reg team is going to get their submission. How do you deal with that? How do you negotiate? How do you prompt AI to write justifications for your negotiations? What line items should you negotiate in your contracts for invoiceables? How are the pillars, those 3 pillars, and how they work? All the way to, hey, congratulations, the contract signed, now what? Here's how you write an invoice. Here's how you track the invoice. Here's how you talk to people about disputes for an invoice. You just got paid. Congratulations. Here's how you remit. Here's how you dispute. Here's how you match everything up. All the way to, congratulations, you have closeout. Now what? You got 25 years of obligation and $2,000 to do it. What are you going to do? So.
Yeah, that one's always been a fun one to me.
I'm seeing comments actually.
Yeah, we got a few in here. Well, I will say, and we can talk about this too. I know you touched on it, but what up, Dan? Dan Shell, always good to hear from you. A little plug for an article. Fox talks about the 3 pillars, which you kind of hinted at earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We had a CRC in academia. They say that they submit reimbursement requests, but that's the most they do.
That's another. So you have to collect the receipts and send them to your team and get reimbursement requests, or do you actually have to build a sponsor, which is a totally different?
Yeah, well, and again, my experience in academia was kind of all over the place. We did have, the coordinator did negotiate the budget, but then I never saw, there was somebody else somewhere else, presumably getting the payments, because I had no idea when we were being paid for what. It was done by some central office maybe, or some administrator like higher up the chain. So a lot of disconnects in like how all that stuff was happening, which almost seemed, I mean, again, you get into like the bureaucracy of the, bigger institutions. I mean, look, the bigger a place gets, the more complexity there is. That's just all there. I mean, there's no two ways about it. To me, that just became more challenging. Talk to us about the pillars.
Yeah. So there's always the 3 pillars of a clinical research site. And no matter what you do, you can always bend something at the site into these 3 pillars. Okay. The first pillar is the administrative pillar, that the executives, the ones who, the legal team that looks at the contract, that signs the contract, that does the negotiation, even some of the activities that isn't exactly quite patient facing yet, but you are performing business development, screening of patients, like the pre-screening chart review things, that kind of thing. That is administrative. So you're pretty much creating that infrastructure so that the other pillars can succeed. The next pillar is the regulatory pillar. It is not the administrative pillar. This is your principal's office. This is your QA team. These are the people that not only sit there and file every 1572 IRB, they're the ones that also oversee protocol amendments. They oversee CAPAs, their quality, regulatory. This is likely where your SOP manual is hidden. It's lodged in regulatory, so it's regulatory and QA. And it's the principal's office. It's the quality assurance to make sure that everyone is doing their job according to organization and federal law. And then finally, the one pillar that everyone thinks that is the only part of the site is the operations pillar. That's the patient-facing pillar. You see patients, you perform x-rays, you do all the ancillaries, everything that is involved around a patient is in the operations pillar. So the interesting thing about these 3 pillars is how they all crosstalk. You have this really cool communication plan between those 3 pillars and finance. So prime example is one of the best protections of a research site is to throttle data in the event you are not paid. Or, and Brad, I think we've actually seen a few of these case studies succeed. The regulatory team holds the keys to financial success. I'm sorry, we're not filing our closeout with the IRB until you are current. I'm sorry, we're not scheduling a closeout visit until you are caught up.
Yeah, you're not coming here until you've paid us.
Yeah.
Which does work.
It does work, and I don't like going that direction, but sometimes you have to. You have to have direct communication between your ops team and your finance team for things to happen. The ops are the boots and the eyes on the ground. If there is a patient that doesn't show up, you have to let finance know so they can adjust AR. That's not, you didn't earn that, so you can't put that in your reportable income, your accrual. If there is a patient that had an x-ray or they had to come in for an additional set of labs because the other ones were bad, those boots on the ground for those coordinators are key for the operational level. And then finally, admin. I mean, oh my gosh, how many times do you have to have administrative people talk about ad spends or chart reviews or all of these expenses that you have to get permission to bill for, you have to have that direct line of communication with the finance team.
Yeah, I think, again, like people often underestimate how many moving parts there are to all this stuff as a site. And even I did, like when I started doing it, right? Like I was just like, it's going to be easy. Go out there, see patients, get money. Surely it's not more complicated than that, right?
Anyone a South Park fan?
Yes.
So the underpants gnomes ring a bell.
Gnomes. Oh yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of folks who start a restaurant. They like to cook. They start a restaurant and they're like, oh, start a restaurant and sell people food. Mm-hmm. And it's not that. There's so much. It's running a business, right? Like ultimately it's still a business. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of folks who get into it because of the patient care. I want to run the clinical trials, boots on the ground, patient facing component of it without understanding of the regulatory, the admin, or the finance. So how many sites do you run into that maybe fit that bucket that like you meet with or have conversations with and you're like, ain't nothing I can do for you. Like you're done. What's that ratio?
Most of the time that's the conversation with the egotistical PI. I just don't want to deal with someone who they want to optimize their revenue so that they can fill their pockets or do more. Or the worst quote I've ever heard was, well, the patients will come in or else they're no good to me. I'm like, okay, thank you very much.
It's a good attitude.
Maybe you want to check someone else. It's rare-ish. If I had 5 different meetings in a week, it might be 2 of them. That's okay. I'll say maybe this isn't a good fit, or I have some recommendations, or even coverage analyses. Our favorite thing ever.
Don't get me started on coverage analysis.
Now, if you want to do a thorough coverage analysis, it's not my favorite thing to do. But I mean, I know people, we could figure it out. But most of the time, to your question, it's just the people who are in it for the wrong reasons, the wrong selfish reasons. I'm good.
Maybe they should just get the fuck out of clinical research, period.
Yeah, maybe you're in the wrong field. Maybe it's not the right thing. Or, I mean, there are organizations out there that may be doing something similar to what I do. They'd be fine with that. So maybe go talk to them.
That's fair. Let me hit some more of these.
So while you're doing that, I want to know, so why did you get into clinical research to begin with? Why did you start in the field?
My daughter died. So I don't want other daughters to die.
Yeah. It's a powerful reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds honestly as good of a reason as you could possibly have.
Yeah.
Patty, I think talking back about CTMS programming a little bit, saying it really depends on the stakeholders setting up, heavy billing to heavy admin oversight to average clinical trial management. I mean, it probably does, right? And again, that's going to probably rely a lot on what your particular site model is. And who, like, again, as a small site, we didn't have a bunch of experts in various fields at our disposal, which is why I've gone to something like CRPN, which is very affordable. And I guess talk about this too. Talk about like your business model for working with sites. I mean, I do think that's compelling, especially if you're a small site thinking like, okay, I think I've got a bunch of money on the table. Do I need to go spend whatever, $100,000, $150,000 a year to hire somebody who knows what they're doing? I can't afford that, but also I can't not afford it because what do I do? And I guess talk to us a little about your business model if you're comfortable, because I do think
that's why
really important.
We designed it how we designed it. Most of the sites that I work with are like remittance to remittance. It's not like they have a bunch of money set aside to pay someone to hopefully get money later. So we help to share the risk with them. We come in and we say, let us do this. I call it a financial monitoring visit, the true FMV in my opinion. But that's where we go through the history, get all of the books aligned, get everything. I reach out to the CROs and get the payments and the contracts. It's a ton of work. But the way that they compensate CRPN is not with an upfront payment. It's just we set a date, and this is the date of the audit. Anything before that date applies a percentage of what we recover. That's it. And the other key is CRPN doesn't get paid until the site gets paid, which means the site already has the money in the bank, and then they would just be able to afford to pay CRPN from what we have recovered. So that's how it starts. It's just the audit. But then we do offer a comprehensive line of everything a site would need as far as finance goes. If you want CRPN to just do your negotiations, no problem. There's negotiations. If you want them to send the invoices, track things, and dispute and chase the money, that kind of a management thing, there's another component. And then finally, there's report analytics, where we put together all of the different things from all the different places into ways that you can actually see the financial health of your site. So I call these switches. And the only reason why is I know sites that prefer to control certain things. They don't want to let go of the negotiations. They just don't want to chase the money. They would rather just pull from their CTMS. They don't need reports. Fine. So it's just a matter of whatever switch you want to flip on or off for CRPN to support you. And so hopefully it gives the site a level of control, and also it allows the site to fill in the gap that they don't want.
Yeah, it's like flexibility there. And I'm guessing, I mean, I've seen this with sites. I've been guilty of it too. Like, you really want to keep, there's some things you want to keep yourself. Look, even if you're not, even if it's not, it puts you at a disadvantage, but like sites, I think, are oftentimes very like, they want to do things themselves a lot, probably more so than what is actually a good idea. At least maybe I'm just projecting my own, my own thoughts here, but I think I've seen it. Like, we want to do things our way. Okay, well, that's not a good way, but sure, we can do it. Yeah. Go nuts. So again, you got some flexibility, whether it be, hey, help us with budgets, contracts, or hey, don't, but please help us chase our money, or whatever instance there. If you're a site, like, what should you be allotting to like finance? Like, in terms of, should 10% of my budget be going towards a finance team, or like, is there a metric for that?
Yeah. So on average, and I think I just found this on Google, it's a pretty agreed upon rate. Eventually, almost every single company will average out to a 15% allotment to all things finance. And by all things, I mean, that's your CFO and everything underneath them and data analytics and boom, 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 boom. Sites probably don't need that right away. That's actually the other reason why. Oh, and by the way, I did notice, Brad, in that last interview, I said actually way too many times. So I'm trying to fix that.
Right.
That's why I did the switches as I did them. As the site progresses and grows and does what they want, they can flip switches up to the point where they hit. I don't think I'm ever going to get to 15%, because there's certain things in finance I do not want to do. Prime example is that 15% includes a payment of your vendors.
Right.
I have not been a payor yet. I'd rather work with a CFO, let someone else pay the bills. Just let me collect them and report them. But I don't ever want to do AP. But whatever sites want to do to flip on that switch and off is designed to be part of that percentage rate. If you are a site and you're just starting out, bank on between 6 to 9% of your revenue going to your financial management. If as you grow and scale, expect that to go slightly upward into the 12% range. And then eventually you're going to be at a 15% marker when you're an established company.
And okay. And speaking of the payments, Brad, we have a question for you from Lee. How do you manage multiple organizations and PIs? How do you reconcile the payments that come in together?
Barely. I mean, that's something I think we're working through now. I mean, historically, it's literally just been check by check, and making sure. I mean, look, PIs are not going to work with you if they are not getting paid. So they got to get paid. And as regularly as possible. I make it real clear, try to make it real clear that, most sites don't have a ton of float necessarily. So we're going to pay you as our checks come in, which means we're going to have to make sure we're fighting to get our checks. As soon as anything comes in, I'm splitting off my percentage and getting it out the door and making sure that doctor is taken care of. Because if they need to see another patient, they might be thinking, hey, when's the last time I got paid? But I think it's something like we've been worked on. Fox actually put together a great report, because it's not just what you've accrued with the it's again, these are like this is some of the softer stuff you have to deal with, because you can show a doctor what you've accrued. I think about, great, where's my money? Well,
I don't
that
have
could
it
be
yet.
90 days. It could be hell. It could be 180 days. We've seen insane things happen. So,
or you might have to write some off, and that's the other thing.
Yes, yeah, you might lose it altogether. Yeah, so
it's pretend money until it's in the bank.
Correct. Yeah. So communicating that, I think that's the biggest part of it. As long as they know, generally I try to make sure everybody's paid within a 10-day period. Just personally, again, I want them to see the cash flow as much as possible. But we're working through that too, especially as we start working with more and more remote groups and different configurations where they've got a coordinator, so the splits are different, having to account for these different things. So again, just making it harder on ourselves,
Yeah. And then you'll have to go reporting cost centers, and you could go so granular if you wanted to on that.
I don't.
It gets to a point where, and you wonder why it turns into 15%.
To a degree.
But yeah, there's additional effort when it comes to that, Lee. And I'm telling you, the key to that is solid records. If you say, here's a list of all the bank deposits that happened for your site for what the trial that you performed, here is the PDF file of all of the payment advice for all of these different deposits. It's all here in front of you. Here's most of the time these sites will do percentage splits. Here's the percentage split based off of all of this documentation that I got from the bank and from my records. Here you go. There's no questioning. Okay, you got paid. You're transparent. I trust you. I trust the percentage.
Transparency goes a long ways. I know that even talking to doctors who've worked with other sites or SMOs who haven't gotten a lot of transparency. So sometimes it's just a matter of, just that, showing them that you're not hiding anything. There's no sleight of hand going on, and explaining it very well. I mean, and even very recently, we had a conversation with a clinic where it probably had more to do, some of the miscommunication had more to do with the fact that we didn't explain well, like some of these things. Not that we weren't transparent, but we didn't do a good job of getting down sort of into the weeds with it all. And so I think that's, important to consider.
Yeah. And to always be open for questions. No secrets, no surprises.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say something I want to kind of get into that you touched briefly on, like the communications back to the CRO sponsors. What has been the reception of, what you're doing at CRPN with the CROs, with the sponsors you're having conversations with? How does that?
Sure. This goes into the dream of CRPN that I'm not there yet, but I'm very careful to not disclose my CRPN site partners quite yet, just because of that. Okay, I don't want my sites to be blacklisted, or I don't want to be unselected because they are affiliated with CRPN. So I keep that confidential. But to answer your question is, I have the speed dial number of every decision maker for every CRO right now. We are very good friends. If there's a problem, I give them a call, say, hey, what's going on here? And the other way around, if they're running into a problem with a difficult site, they'll call me and say, hey, this site is saying this stuff. Is this bogus, or what's going on here? And I said, well, actually, that's legitimate. Or no, they're just full of it. They're trying to milk you.
Right. Well, and to be honest, it makes in my mind, and maybe this is naive, but if you're not paying your sites, maybe you're keeping your money and you're getting a little bit extra padding, but ultimately you want to clear your books. I assume the CROs want clear books too. So now they have this weird squishy area of money that should have been paid that isn't. That doesn't seem like a good business place to operate either. So ultimately it seems like it should be positive for everyone. Is that the reception?
No, some people don't appreciate it. CROs, well, and you can kind of tell how the CRO is based off of how they execute their long stop. If you have a site who's coming in, they had a come to industry moment, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing all this money, I need to do a recoup. You're going to see this bolus amount of invoices going through. Bam. And some of the CROs are going to look at that and say, your contract says that you have 60 days by the occurrence of the event. It's been 6 months. We're not paying for this. So they don't quite appreciate. Oh, you should just be, what was it? You should just be more on top of your finances next time. That's more like kind of the direction they go.
Oof.
Yeah. And we've seen that. We had unfortunately we had an audit with again, this is why I'm not a fan of CTMS finance. The AR in the CTMS finance was just accumulating, and nobody was chasing the money. Nobody was aging it. Nobody was figuring it out. During the audit, I looked at this and I found that the majority of the sites, or the majority of the trials that this AR was reporting to, had closed a year ago.
Yep.
6 figures written off in a day because of finance
Too old.
And most of the CROs would not cooperate with that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess there is a balance, right? Like
the contract says,
right.
Okay,
and that from their perspective, I mean, they're probably not accounting for having to pay that out anymore because they were following it. I mean, it makes it shitty, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it is shitty. And I mean, the sites did the work. They just didn't put the work in to claim the money.
Right.
But ultimately, it gets to this sense, and I think we had Bree on a while back, but the whole concept of like sites being shared resources, and so like sites have to, if the industry is going to be successful, sites have to be successful ultimately, and so like screwing them over to like gain a buck on one study ultimately seems like it's like a short-term gain, but like long-term, that's going to cripple the industry if we keep operating that way.
Yeah, it's very short-sighted. Very short-sighted.
Yeah, I agree. We're getting down to the last 10 minutes. If you guys have questions, get them in now. I got one. We talked a little bit before the show here, but any plans for Kindle electronic versions of the book?
I was advised that as soon as I go ebook, the AI digesters out there are just going to steal it. So eventually, Jonathan, we'll get there, but we're going to try to put some more plans behind it first. I've had a lot of that. Actually, it was really interesting. I got a comment just yesterday. Oh my gosh, Dr. Fox, this book is great. This fills in so many gaps. This is going to be my go-to when I run my site. And then AI generator guy who wants to steal all the information says, hey, you got an ebook? Or, hey, what's the actual cost of the book? I want to pay a reasonable price. I'm like, okay, well, you're either going to want to buy the book and have it help your site, or you're going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I didn't really think about that in this day and age. Although, I mean, a lot of people are writing their books with AI at this point as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it'll get out there. Eventually, someone's going to grab it and get all the ideas. But by then, hopefully, we can get it out to the site. So what really scares me is someone's going to take it and then try to monetize it and then charge sites, which is totally not the reason for doing it.
Yeah, fair. But I think look, I had an opportunity to skim through it a little bit. I mean, I think it's great. I don't know if there's anything else like it that goes into that level of detail. And I think, again, just the whole concept of how so many community sites are essentially, they're technicians, they're coordinators. They don't know how to run a business. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't know how to run a business. I've been running a business for 8 years. I don't know how to run a business. So like having that blueprint, I think, is extremely valuable. And again, not something that's been really made available widely.
I did a pretty massive search beforehand and I didn't see anything like it. And then after, the 1,000th request, I was like, I need to get something out there. This helps. I think my favorite part about the book was I created little info boxes that showed what it would look like if you redline something in a contract. This is what the contract says. This is what the red line is going to look like. So you know exactly how to edit something, which I feel like there's, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to say I'm a lawyer, but these are my experiences. In fact, I challenge you, if you ever get the book, count how many times I say, this is not legal advice. Consult your legal counsel, because I don't want people to just not call their lawyers.
Yeah, call Darshan and Edie if you got legal
questions. Darshan and Edie, put them on speed dial, and then they can call me and yell at me when they said, but Dr. Fox's book said that.
Yeah, right.
Like, Dr. Fox is not a lawyer. Listen to them.
Don't worry, they don't like to argue, so surely you won't hear anything. Shout out Melissa. She's looking forward to being a great and much needed resource, which
thank you so much, Melissa.
Couldn't agree more with. And I'm trying to get Dr. Fox here to let me do the audiobook version.
I'm curious, who out there would like to hear Brad Hightower read my book on Spotify or something?
I'll even put on a smoother voice. I'll get some tea with honey. I'll make a whole thing. Steam in the room.
Yeah. then we'll have that peaceful flower while you're reading.
Either people will love it or they will go to sleep. Or
We're like, no, I'm good.
maybe both. Maybe both.
All of a sudden, you get letters saying, "I got in a car accident because of you."
Again, we'll call Darshan and Edie.
Yeah, there you go. Either way, you're giving them business. Awesome. Yeah, we're down to the last few minutes. Anything specifically else you want to get out there or hit on here, Dr. Fox?
Do you still ask about books or resources?
I haven't in a while, but I'm happy to do it. Is there anything out there? Any resources? Any books? Anything that help you do your job better, or just kind of keep you motivated day to day?
Sure. This one is a fairly recent one. My wife loves wrestling, the WWE stuff. She loves listening to the wrestling podcasts. They recommended a book that all of the wrestling superstars read called The Four Agreements. Really, really cool book. I read it last Christmas. It helped me get a lot of insight into a lot of things. Love The Four Agreements now. So
I've heard of it. I don't think I've not read it, but I know it's fairly well known.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool book. So I enjoyed that one. What about you? And I mean, recent books, tools you enjoy?
I recently read a book called Super Communicators, which I thought was kind of good. And I mean, look, I feel like a lot of these books are fairly intuitive when you get down to them, and it's more like they're more of like reminders. Like, oh yeah, I knew that. I just didn't like think about it that deeply each time. Other than that, I mean, I'm a big podcast guy, but it's kind of random. No, I just operate with pure whimsy on a day-to-day basis. What about you, Denali?
I mean, I just started this guy. We had Dr. Stamp on a couple weeks ago, and I got his book. So we'll see. I haven't transparently, like, I read, I don't know, like 20 pages in, but with the conference season coming up, I will be reading more on the airplanes. So we'll see.
To go. I guess the other tool is right behind me here. That's why I put it in front of my desk. It's just an AI generated image of a sun versus a black hole. And so every time when I come up to my desk, I ask myself, what am I going to be today? Am I going to be a sun that radiates all the energy or a black hole that sucks all the energy? I try to work toward being that sun.
I love that.
Like That's you said, nice. Reminders.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not easy, man. This can be a frustrating industry to work in. It's easy to get frustrated and, just generally feel downtrodden at times. So I think, any reminders that kind of keep you remembering like why we're doing it. And that stuff's useful, man. I agree. Very good. I've just had my 5-year-old slam the door. He's been in here staring at me. We're getting down to the last couple of minutes here again. Anything else you want to let's hear. There's a couple other recommendations in the
Empire. I'm trying to figure out Angel's comment. What does Angel's comment mean?
He wants you to get the book with lavender spray, so as Brad reads it, we can all like drift off to sleep with lavender spray on your pillow. Here, you like pillow spray.
Gotcha.
That's how I took it.
Okay. Yeah. I thought he was like using potpourri for the bathroom as he was reading.
Make it a bathroom book too.
There you go.
There's no wrong place to read the book. Okay. No More Tears, not related, but a brilliant book. So maybe we'll check that out. Maybe we need to start a book club podcast for the clinical research industry.
There's some good books out there that help us get through.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of good stuff. It's also finding the time to read those books can be particularly challenging. Very good, Dr. Fox. Thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn might be your best friend. I have the YouTube channel, CRPN Central now. You're going to see a ton of cool stuff there. In fact, Brad, I'm also streaming this to there, so you'll get double streams. So the website changed a little bit, everyone, just in case you're wondering. I have a lot of industry partners, and one of them includes Image Bloom. Image Bloom offered to do my website, and as a result, we have an e-commerce website. That's the original one, where you get good clinical business practice training, PACT score reports, all of the cool things there. There's going to be some cool workshops and training things there. If you want to see the information about CRPN, go to crpn.crpaynet.com. That's crpn.crpaynet.com.
Cool.
Very good. We'll make sure we throw that up in the show notes and make it available for everyone. Are you going to be out at any conferences this fall?
Innovation Network Gathering is my target, so I'll be there in Pennsylvania. That's my my number one.
Very good, very good. Cool. Yeah, we'll see you there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, what do we have next week, Denali?
Next week, we're hitting the road. So we are going to be at the Viva Summit in Boston. So we will be live streaming on that Thursday, same time. But we'll be live streaming from Boston from the summit. And then we'll have some other content we're recording there. We'll release out later. But we'll be in Boston and talking about what the hell we did in Boston.
There you go. Very good. Exciting stuff. Again, Dr. Fox, thanks so much for coming on. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.